old school NerdCage live ranking discussion video, horror edition. Joe, give me that countdown, dude.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Get over here! Hi, I'm martial art master Daniel Pacino. You know me as the original Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Reptile, and Smoke. You are tuning in to NerdCage Live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Don't miss an episode or you'll get caged. So let's finish him.
NerdCage Live and gaming are a perfect match.
Shoot the J, Joe.
Okay.
Shoot it!
All right.
Over on NerdCage Live on Twitch, Jay and Joe go live.
Call me Bazooka Joe.
It's all about you.
Kaboom!
Playing both old school and new school games every Tuesday night. Oh, what a sight!
Jay, stop looking at her face and run.
But she's so beautiful.
So be sure to follow NerdCage Live on Twitch.
Run for your life, Joe. Run for your life, Joe.
Running.
Run faster. Oh no, Joe. The galaxy's doomed because of you.
To scratch your gaming itch.
Oh, nice kick, Joe.
Thank you.
About
Yo, that's diabolical.
humanity.
Wait. Yo!
That's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
This is Anthony Marquez, better known as Kung Lao for Mortal Kombat. Make sure to like and subscribe to NerdCage Live. Be there. Us.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Jay St. G.
And I'm Joe from FallenOne Gaming.
And we have a special message from NerdCage Live and NerdCage Live Gaming. Because we know a lot of y'all like the game, right? Well, we decided here at NerdCage that we wanted to give away something special. A big thank you. Not only a thank you, but we need your help too. Joe, what is it that we're giving away?
We are giving away an Xbox Series X.
Yes! Brand new! See? Right here, still sealed. We are giving this sucker away. But in order for us to give this away, we need your help. Get us to 1,500 subscribers and we will give this away.
If you guys get us to 1,500 subscribers, this can be all yours.
United States and Canada only. We're not shipping all over the world, all right?
Yeah.
So here's how this is gonna happen. Get us to 1,500 subscribers, and then we're gonna release another video on how you can enter. This is not gonna be the only giveaway. So the first prize, obviously, will be the Xbox Series X, brand new, shipped right to you. Second prize will be a digital $100 gift card from Amazon.
Third place will be a $50 digital Amazon card.
Now listen, if you get us to 1,500 subscribers, just maybe, we'll do another giveaway. 1,500 subscribers, and this bad boy can be yours. Keep it tuned to NerdCage Live when we release the second video on how to enter once we hit 1,500 subscribers.
Hi, I'm Leah Montalongo, the OG Sindel. Please like, subscribe to NerdCage Live.
Greetings, citizens. You're now trapped in the nerd cage. We hope you have a smashing good time.
You're now about to witness the strength of geek knowledge. Hello, welcome. That's right. Once again, you are trapped in NerdCage Live. This channel is a celebration of all things pop culture, including horror movies. I'm your co-host, J. St. Motherfucking G, certified geek, 7 days a week, coming to you live from yours truly, the land of the orange, Syracuse, New York. Please hit that like button and subscribe, please. Pay the rent. Get us to 1,500 subscribers, and guess what? You can win yourself a free Xbox Series X. And sorry, I lost my train of thought. And always among us, it's our moderator and Trollhammer, stronger than the DK Banana Slammer. It's Joe from FallenOne Gaming. What's poppin'?
So ready to reveal our top 5 horror movies with this star-studded cast. We have Keith McCleary of Tattness podcast. We have Josh from Movie and Gaming Aficionados. And Wes from Reel Talk, a Movie podcast.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, and before we get started, Joe, who do we got in the chat tonight?
In the chat tonight, we have Shay Smithers, Tadmock99,
yes!
and Doomzilla.
Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. As Joe just said, we're going to be dishing out the top 5 horror movies of all time according to all these handsome fucks you see on screen right now. But before we go any further, Joe, we got a bunch of stuff we got to promote, starting with tomorrow.
Yes, we do. Tomorrow, we go back to Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yes, be there. Twitch.tv/NerdCage Live, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just might beat it tomorrow. If we don't, we'll definitely beat it next week.
Yes. Speaking of next week, on Monday, we will be doing a one-off redemption stream for Leon B. Resident Evil 2.
We're going to make it up to you guys on Halloween.
Exactly.
Resident Evil 2. That's, again, twitch.tv/NerdCage Live. And
yes.
Joe.
And I believe we're also going to try to put it on our YouTube gaming.
Yes. Yes, hopefully that'll be up and running by then.
Hopefully.
I don't want to make no guarantees. We're hopefully going to be up and running. And then, Joe, what's going to be on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, we go back to Gotham Knights, where Jay will be playing as Nightwing.
Hell fucking yeah, brother. So listen, one thing I just want to promote real quick. As you guys should probably know by now, I also work for Joe Blow. And please check out the Joe Blow Face-Off channel, where my latest video, The Shining versus Dr. Sleep, is now on Joe Blow Face-Offs. Please check that out. Just in time for Halloween. And it's kind of parallels what we're doing tonight. So, thanks so much. I guarantee you guys are going to love the video. It was a lot of fun putting together, and I hope you all enjoy it. So, here's what we're going to do. We have 5 movies to go through, and we got one honorable mention. And all of these gentlemen you see on screen right now do not know what the top 5 movies are. So you're going to see their genuine reaction. But before we go down our list, the official top 5 in our honorable mention, I want these fine gentlemen to plug themselves in. Gentlemen, take your time, whatever you want to plug in. By the way, the links are in the description of the video. Let's start with our homie, Tattness McCleary, man. What's up?
What's going on, brother? Been a long time, man.
Yes, it has, man. So for those who may not remember you, maybe they haven't met you before, explain what you do. Also, while you're at it, explain your love for horror movies.
Oh my god, dude. So I'm in movies, so there's that. So that's why this whole thing is hard for me, because like I know people in a lot of these movies, so I'm like, who am I going to offend if they're not in my list, right? You know, and who's going to think I'm picking people or picking movies based on who I know or what I'm, you know, partial to, right? From being in it. But Yeah, so besides that, I mean, and you know, the podcast, the Tattness podcast, whatever, now just launched Tattness Radio, as you know, because you're on it.
Yes, and we are
Thank
super
God.
grateful for that.
Oh, dude, it was so like no brainer to me to like bring you guys on because, as you know, I've been, you know, super into what you guys have been doing for time. So it just made sense to me. So, you know, we've always worked together to some degree. You've brought me on here quite a bit, I think. The Metroid thing stands out. That was tough. But this one's probably harder for me.
I know, it's like choosing over your children, right?
It really is, man. Someone's going to get their feelings hurt, and I can't avoid it. So sorry to all my friends in all the movies that did not get mentioned or picked on my end, because there's too many, man.
Oh, yeah, it's hard. We're doing 5. Okay, imagine narrowing down to 5. It was hard enough to pick 10. We narrowed this list to fucking 5. But let me tell you something. Everybody contributed to this top 5. Trust me. So that's why I can't wait to see you guys' reaction. But yeah, Keith, thanks so much. Anything else you want to plug in?
Oh, man, I don't want to turn your show into a commercial, so now I'm good.
All good, man. All right, you know this, man. Wesley Jones of Real Talk, a movie podcast. How are you, sir? And please explain your love for horror movies and what you do.
Well, thanks for having me back. It's always fun being on NerdCage. I got my robe on as usual that lets you know it's getting colder outside, and I just hang out, talk about movies. So that's what I like to do. But I'm actually fresh off of Scarefest, which took place in Lexington, Kentucky.
Oh, you met Robert Patrick?
Yeah, met the T-1000 this past weekend, he was awesome. But yeah, this was our second time at Scarefest. We got the little official media badges, which was really cool. We're not going to do a recap episode this year. It was kind of a lot of work. It took a little bit of the fun out of it as we were trying to interview people last year and kind of do all this type of stuff. So we went more just for pure fun, but it was amazing. And Real Talk, we're on a little bit of a hiatus. We've got a bunch of things that are going on in each of the hosts' lives, and it's just hard to get together and put episodes. But the show, we're still around. I hate it because we had just gotten to the point where our interview guests were getting bigger and bigger, and we'd made some excellent connections, and I really hated that because I feel like we would really be having some very recognizable names, on the show. But we'll get back to it. Hopefully,
you'll get
soon.
That momentum back.
We'll get it back whenever we've got just a little bit more time. But whenever you ask me to come on and talk about my favorite genre, which is horror films, Real Talk's about all movies. We talk everything, but I couldn't pass up an opportunity to talk about some of my favorite genre, my all-time favorite movies, and just hanging out with you guys is always a good time. So if Lamar can turn it on here on my fantasy team, it'll be an even better night. So pleasure being with everybody. And
let me just, before we get to Josh, I just want to say I'm a diehard fan of Real Talk Movie Podcast, even though they're kind of on a hiatus right now. If you're new, please check them out, because you know what? Since they're taking a break right now, you guys have a golden opportunity to go back and listen to all of their old episodes, man. They got some good ones on there. I mean, they've covered like Silence of the Lambs. They always do this thing called Reviewing the New, where they review movies. They talk about movies what they've seen in theaters and whatnot. Like, their Top Gun episode was just awesome. So please check them out. Like I said, even though they're on hiatus, got a golden opportunity to binge it and catch up on their material before they start pumping out new episodes again.
And we're still doing about an episode a month, but we were doing about an episode a week, for a long period of time. Sometimes we'd even record twice a week. So anyway, we'll be back around, but we're still going to try to. We're part of the Music City Film Critics Association, and we're still reviewing new films, but I want to get back and do some more interviews and some more retro episodes to mix in with our new film reviews. So again, pleasure being here. Can't wait for that. Talk these movies.
Joshua Burris of the Movie and Gaming Aficionados YouTube and Facebook discussion group. How are you, man? Explain your love for horror movies and tell everybody what you do. And by the way, we're so happy to have you back, man. It's been
Thanks,
a while.
man. Thank you, dude. Movie Aficionados. I'm here with my boy Grogu and all my other people. Yeah, man, I also kind of like Wes took a hiatus, for a bunch of reasons. One of which also is I got my Facebook shut down randomly. So it kind of sucks. I actually had I had Michael Sarnowski on there. I couldn't get him back, the director of Pig. I had Michael Abels somehow on my Facebook, the composer for Nope and Us and all that. And I was building some momentum as well. I actually had a part 1 of a little documentary with Jay and Wes, and just like life, man, things happen. And yeah, man, this is kind of my way. I don't want to talk too long and too much. I kind of want to get into it, but this is like my way to get back and get some momentum back myself. You know what I mean? And possibly get back into what I love, which is horror movies and movies in general. But horror movies have always brought me back. You know what I mean? And this is the time of year. This is it right now. It's Halloween, a couple of days.
Yep.
So you know what I mean? And I'm happy to be here with you guys and talk about it.
That means a lot to us. Thanks so much, man. All right, Joe. Before we get started, man, just real quick, just give your little history on horror movies, and then we'll get started.
Where do I start? I've been watching horror movies and slasher films and everything since I was very young. My parents really didn't hold back. They kind of just let me do whatever the hell I wanted. So, yeah, I've loved horror my entire life. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite genre, but it's way the hell up there.
All right. As for me, you know what? I'm with Joe. I love horror movies. It may not be my favorite genre. I'm probably more of an action kung fu guy, but man, there are some horror movies that I have to watch every year and whatnot. And there's some that I just love more and more the more I watch them. And come on, man, you have a woman over? Wow, just throwing that out there. So yeah, horror movies is just the way to go. So you know what? Here we go. So again, these guys don't know what the list is, but we all have our top 10, and I combined them together, and we had one honorable mention, and then the top 5, and they don't know. And you guys will see their genuine reaction. We're going to start with Keith going around the circle. So, that being said, let's get started here. For our first honorable mention, guys, it is A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original.
Oh.
Is our honorable mention. So, Keith, feelings on Nightmare on Elm Street, and how do you feel about it being an honorable mention?
That just broke my spirit, bro.
Wow.
I feel personally attacked. I love that movie so much, dude. I don't know. I grew up with that whole thing and fascinated by all of it. And then now I'm friends and actually Mick Strawn's a big brother to me who worked on 3 and 4. So that, and then the TV show he worked on, Freddy's Nightmares, and I grew up watching that at 6 years old, right? So
yeah.
It's just a sentimental value kind of deal for me that one stood out to me and it just became one of my favorites. So honorable mention even.
Don't kill me, man! Don't kill me, man!
No, you know what though? It's not top 10 and then it doesn't even make the top 10. That would hurt, dude.
But it's technically number 6. This is the top 5. This is honorable mention. So this is our number 6.
That's what I mean, right? So that's a little bit easier to take.
And for the record, I stole Wes's idea where he does a point system. I ripped it right out of Reel Talk. So as far as points goes, I can tell you right now, Nightmare on Elm Street came in with 13 points total between the 5 of us. All right, Wes, your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street as our honorable mention?
Well, Keith just mentioned Nightmare Part 4, which while we were at Scarefest, they screened it with the cast. So that was pretty cool to come off of just have seen that. Now, I like Nightmare on Elm Street. Robert Englund was the main attraction there at Scarefest this year. I've got the box set of all the movies sitting right over here. For me, it's not one of my all-time favorite horror films, but I really appreciate what they were going for. I believe it came out in '84, and I felt like it was something different, that other movies of that time were not really doing. I mean, this was it's a slasher film, but he can get you in your dreams. It's not like some mass killer running after you in the woods. He gets you in your dreams. It's pretty cool that Johnny Depp is from Owensboro, Kentucky, which is 1 hour from here. I've spent a lot of time in Owensboro, and he was actually just here, I think, either last week or the week before, walking around Owensboro, and to see Johnny in that movie. But one of the things that I really like about Nightmare on Elm Street, there's a couple of things that stick out. And first is whenever the girl kind of gets taken up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
In the film. Yeah. That is such a scary, bloody scene. And then I don't know why, but it's so disorienting whenever another girl's out running. I believe it's in the alley, and I'm just going off memory here. She's running in the alley, and Freddy's after her, and his arms just get super long like that. And that's a creepy scene too. I'm all about genuine scares in horror films, stuff that actually really creep you out, not
all
just
practical
jump scares.
too.
Yeah, but those are a couple of scenes that really have stuck out and really bothered me. So I like it. It's a good movie. Didn't quite make my list.
All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned that too. Also, be sure to if this movie made your list, be sure to mention where on your list. I'm sorry, it slipped my mind. Josh, your feelings on A Nightmare on Elm Street cracking as our honorable mention.
Okay. Now, I am somewhat contrarian in general, and I like really obscure stuff, and I like really obscure horror movies. Not to say I don't like Nightmare on Elm Street, and obviously as a franchise, they're good and bad to varying degrees. You know what I mean? Some are better than others, but I didn't have it on my list at all. You know what I mean? That's just because whatever, I like very weird things. Not to say that Nightmare on Elm Street wasn't weird, but I'm not mad at it, being on the list. I actually surprised that it's not up higher, even though I didn't have it personally on my list. I actually expect my list to be very, very different from everybody else's, but
it was.
Oh, okay. All right. Right. Without even getting into
to be
it.
fair, all of our lists were pretty different. I mean, there were some crossover
good.
here and there, but for the most part, they were different, which is why when we at the end of the video, we're going to reveal all of our top 10s.
And that's what I like. And that's awesome, that we can all have different opinions, tastes, everything. And I'd like to see how it kind of goes together. And I'm curious. And that's an interesting number 6, I think. But yeah, no, good movie. Definitely, obviously iconic. When you think of horror movies, you think of, like Jason, Freddy, Pinhead, Sam. You see like the same people, Jigsaw, like the same, 6 or 7 characters over and over. But so it's not
everybody, everybody pointed that out that Freddy was something unique. He was different.
It's
Jason,
iconic.
So,
Robert Englund, genius, man. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's goated material.
There's nothing, I can't say anything bad about it. Very good. Yep.
All right, Joe, FallenOne Gaming. Nightmare on Elm Street is at number 6. How do you feel, and did you have this ranked?
All right, this was not ranked. Not to say Freddy isn't on my list in some fashion, but not in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. However, I did love this movie. It's really hard to do a top 5, even a top 10 when you're talking movies. There's so many out there, and especially with horror films. But yeah, I did grow up watching this movie. I loved it. And there's just something eerie about the fact that, if he takes you in your dreams, like Wes said, there's really no avoiding that. I mean, even if you're, taking stuff to stay awake or whatever, you're going to crash at some point. So it's like almost an inevitability. Yes. So, yeah.
Shout out to TabMonk99 pointing out that Freddy was in Mortal Kombat 9, which is true. But
Yes.
it wasn't the Robert Englund version, which kind of pissed me off. So listen, I actually had this on my list. This was my number 8. And I'll admit, this is actually not my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm the minority here. Number 2 is actually my favorite. I know it's the homoerotica one. I don't care. It's something about number 2 I really like. But I acknowledge that the first one was iconic and just paved the way, which is why I put Nightmare on Elm Street on my top 10 at number 8. So to see it here as an honorable mention makes me happy because, like as everybody pointed out before, Freddy's a unique villain, and in my humble opinion, this was Wes Craven's best fucking movie.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're gonna start here. We're gonna crack the number 5. Here we go. So at number 5, The Blair Witch Project. Keith McCleary, go.
That is wild. I didn't even remember when I was doing my list. I didn't even think of that one, man. But for its time, especially, it was ahead of its time. It was really cool. And I give it the utmost respect and credit. I know it's kind of a polarizing movie, but I think for what they've done with the budget they had, they showed you don't really need a huge budget to make something screw with people's minds and freak people out. I think it was genius, honestly. I think for its time especially, it was new, it was different. I dig it. I didn't even remember. There's so many, dude. And you know what I mean? There's so many to remember. I remembered some today, and I even said, like, oh man, how did I forget these ones? It's gonna change all the time.
Again, there's so many, you know?
Right,
Yeah.
So, but of course I analyzed those ones to death and was like, well, they're technically like black comedy, not so much horror, so therefore they don't make it anyway. Now I feel better that I forgot about them. But that one I did not remember until you just said it. Did not make my list, but still really dope. So,
Yeah.
All right. Wes of Reel Talk. We got the Blair Witch Project, the 1999 classic. Wow, that feels weird to say. At our number 5, how do you feel, man?
Well, this was very high on my list, and if you know anything about me, you know I'm a huge Blair Witch Project fan. We actually had Eduardo Sanchez on the podcast, and we interviewed him for about an hour and a half. He's an awesome guy, and honestly, it just made my love for the film grow even more that he came on and talked to us about it and gave us some behind-the-scenes stuff. But I was 17 when this movie came out, saw it in theaters opening night here in Bowling Green, and I wanted to see this movie so bad. Just the poster alone got me wanting to see the movie. I saw the poster when I was shopping down in Nashville about a month before it came out and started looking into it a little bit. And this was the time whenever people, found footage wasn't a big part of the pop culture. And so people, they didn't know if the movie was real or not. And, Keith mentioned, it's kind of a genius in a way, or I can't remember exactly how he said it, but, and I think a lot of that was a nod to the marketing campaign that they put together for the movie, which they made the movie and then they made a documentary about the Blair Witch, like it's called Curse of the Blair Witch. They showed it on Sci-Fi Channel. Everybody thought it was real. They were literally the first movie to utilize internet marketing for a film. And it was just amazing what they were able to do. And I take a little bit of offense when people just like trash the movie and, it's not scary and this and that. But I mean, what I always like to do in a horror movie is I want to get scared by the movie. Like I want to go in and I want to put myself in the character's shoes, get scared by the film. And so many people they want to go in and do the opposite. Like I like movies to kind of take you away, take you to that place. And as a person that likes to camp and do all that type of stuff, whenever they wake up and they hear Josh screaming out in the woods and they can't find him, it's freaking scary. So I love this movie. So glad that it at least made the top 5. I didn't think that it would because it's such a polarizing film, but
And
great job,
where
panel.
on the list is it on your list?
I think I've got it at number 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, number 3.
Joshua Burris, The Blair Witch Project, the one
right,
about the woods.
Yeah, the one about the woods. I'm gonna talk about 2 points, one that Keith made and one that Wes made. It's funny because at first when I was doing a snap list, Jay came to me and said, oh yeah, top 10, top 5. Oh, this is going to be easy, blah, blah, blah. And I randomly threw in 5 things without even thinking about it. And I forgot about the Blair Witch Project. And I was like, oh my God, the Blair Witch Project. It's literally the best horror movie ever made. And it's my number 1 on my list. But in my initial list, I forgot. And I was like, oh my God, because there's so many, and now it's horror season. So I've been like seeing all these horror movies, and I think it's clouded my judgment or my memory a little. So I saw like, Nope and Smile and all these other ones. That's like so many, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's iconic. And what Wes was saying about how it's one of the first, I think it, basically nobody really thought about found footage at all. I mean, I know that Cannibal Holocaust,
but that wasn't mainstream.
I don't know if there was another one before that even, but if not, I mean, Blair Witch definitely like changed.
Yeah.
I mean, we got Paranormal Activities and all these other movies because of that, without a doubt. And also, if you remember, for our older people in the chat, the internet wasn't that great as it is back then. We weren't doing podcasts right now. So when we heard things about the Blair Witch story, that whole experience was like, oh, is it real? And, I'm 14 at the time, or whatever I was, 12 or 13. Time. So we're trying to figure out if this was a real story, and the interview, the way that the style was, we didn't really know, and there was no way really to find out until later on. The whole atmosphere, everything about it, it really puts you in there and makes you feel like you're there. And that to me is what horror really should do. Not crazy jump scares, not necessarily, not even that that's bad either. But, I've been seeing, like I said, a lot of these new horror movies, like, it's just like, all right, doing the same thing over and over and over again. This was something different, something iconic for its time, and my number 1, absolutely. So,
and it looks like we got a question in the chat for you, Josh.
Oh yeah, Tabok99 asks, he's curious which movie was on your initial list that you had to bump off.
A whole bunch. I put in 10 in there, and then I had to rearrange it when I really thought about it. But we'll go over that. We'll go over that when we do my list.
It was something to pick. All right, Joe, the Blair Witch Project, and you and I grew up together, and that was all the craze when we were in middle school.
Yes.
So
this movie had it had a cult following when it first dropped and everything. That is until Blair Witch 2 came out and changed everything up and flopped completely. But
we don't speak of that.
Yeah, it ended at 1. That was it. That was all it needed. And that ending, dude, still can't believe that ending basically made its way in some way, shape, or form into Resident Evil 7. If you remember when they're going through there and they see him on the hook, that's straight out of Blair Witch. So, I mean, it had a really big impact. It's not on my list, but like I said, trying to find a top 5 or 10 is really difficult with how many movies are out there.
Yeah, I'm just we'll move on pretty quick here. It did not make my list. I respect what it did, but by no means I cannot put it above some of these other horror movies from the 90s and the even the 80s, even the 70s. But I will say this, going into 1999 into the 2000s, it was really the movie that stood out, at least until until we got that boom of Saw and Paranormal. But Blair Witch was a standout at that time because there really wasn't much else out there. All right, so moving on, guys, to our number 4. Here we go, guys. At number 4, Saw, the original, is at number 4. Keith Tattness McCleary, thoughts on Saw at number 4?
I'm not mad at it. When I first saw that movie, I was like, that concept was wild, dude. It was so brilliant in the end. The story alone intrigued the hell out of me. I was like, that's genius. That end especially just blew my mind. But here's the thing. Now this is where it gets weird for me. Former MMA fighter, actor that's done horror, loves horror, but still, I'm not good on the crazy gore and all that. So that's where my list will probably differ from people, because I just don't do well with all that excessive, unless it's campy or whatever. I'm cool with that. But when it gets like torture porn levels,
Yeah,
of
I was
like,
gonna say it launched the torture porn as we know it.
you know, that's where I'm not good with all that. And I'm like, why would someone enjoy this? Like, I back way off of that stuff. But Saw was like really well done. And the story was so good that I didn't really notice, you know, too much of the gore factor. At least the first one. And then they got even throughout, because I respected the story so much, I watched the other ones and I was like, even the gore was kind of hilarious. It was a little bit much. But I love it. Again, didn't make my list because of the fact that they kind of later on just milk it and it becomes about the gore.
Yeah.
But the first one was genius, so I'm not even mad. That was a brilliant story.
All right. Wes, the original Saw from 2004 is at number 4. How do you feel, man?
Not too happy about this pick right here, honestly.
Do
at
explain.
number 4, not at all. If I made a list of the top 50 horror films, I probably would not have Saw in my top 50. Not that I hate the movie. I actually enjoyed the original Saw. I think the screenplay by Lee Whannell, or Whannell, however you want to pronounce it.
Whannell.
He is an excellent writer. I really like his stuff. You know, he's written Insidious. He's actually a good director too.
Upgrade.
He directed The Invisible Man.
Upgrade he did too.
Upgrade, yeah, that movie's awesome. I believe he wrote also, what's the
Invisible Man
what's
remake.
the puppet
Dead
movie?
Silence.
Dead Silence. Actually, I appreciate
the
Dead
Invisible
Silence
Man
as
remake
well.
too.
Yes.
So, and I like James Wan, the director. Where Saw doesn't do it for me is it was a great script with a great director, but they were just so new and the budget was so incredibly low. And I heard that they completely ran out of money and they had to use Carrie Ull's test shots for actually drop them in the movie. They didn't have enough money to reshoot
$1 million budget, but it would go on to make $100 million.
And I just think that the story was awesome, everything, but the acting really threw me off. Lee Whannell is not a great actor. So that threw me off. Carrie Ull's at the end, I busted out laughing in the theater whenever his face is wide and he's, I'll be back, you know, and just stuff like that he's doing. And it's just, I would love to have seen them almost remake the film after they got, you know, big and were able to really, really do it right. But yeah, it's just not, I had that kind of torture porn category a little bit lower. I'm trying not to sound highbrow. I'm really not, but it's also a little lowbrow for me, the Saw. But yeah, Insidious also had $1 million budget, and I think Insidious is a lot better, honestly.
All right, no, that's fair. All right, Joshua Burris of a Movie Aficionados, Saw at 4.
All right. So first off, before I even get into, I'm going to tell a little story and I'm going to try not to cry when I tell it. But I do agree partially with Wes. I agree with all your sentiments, but I do have to say Saw holds a special place in my heart. I had it at number 7 though, because, you know, I am an adult now and I know, you know, what good writing is. Saw is not one of the best, but I will say this, 2004, first time I saw it, my classmate who passed away, rest in peace, Paula, years and years ago, she had seen me in the theater, and she looked at me and she said, Josh, are you okay? You look like you just seen a ghost. You look like there's something wrong with you. And I said, I just seen Saw. And my eyes were like lit up because the whole experience of seeing this movie, like it shocked me. I wound up seeing it a bunch of times after that. And before that, I was kind of like, I always loved cinema, but I was kind of like casual about it. Saw, ironically enough, even though it's not a great movie, that was the film that got me into like writing and everything else, because I was like, I want that feeling of making people feel like the way I felt, you know? But yeah, now I'm getting emotional. But Saw, yeah, iconic movie. Like I said, Jigsaw is always there in the horror, you know, Rushmore or whatever, along with Michael and Freddie and Jason, all that. And Yeah, it actually also started the escape room genre, I believe. I believe that escape rooms came from Saw, and a lot of things, man. And iconic movie. But not great. As I found out later, there, and written a script or two. There's some things that don't make sense about it, like a lot of plot holes.
And where did you have it ranked in your list?
7.
All right.
And they tried to fix those plot holes in the sequels, which that's another thing. Before I continue, some of these films that we're talking about, and before we get to 3, 2, and 1, I think we have to look at them all as a franchise as well. You know what I mean? Because like, and I mean, on Elm Street, like you said, you like the second one better than the first one, and I'm sure that Keith and Wes might have different opinions on where they rank each individual thing. Like for me, I actually like Saw 5 better than the first one, but a lot of people don't even remember that. So you know what I mean?
I love the fifth one.
Sometimes you have to
survival of the fucking fittest.
I think we also have to group all these. So you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick before we move on, I just want to say hello to the Wanderer 87 on Twitch. Thanks for coming in, and our good friend Artara. Thanks for coming in. We appreciate you being here. All right, Joe. This was all the craze when we finished high school. Thoughts on Saw at number 4?
I actually have this at number 3, and the first one is my favorite. It was our introduction to Jigsaw. It was basically we'd never seen anything like this at this point. So, and I am also, a fan of blood and gore, hence the Resident Evil stuff and anything body horror. So this was way up there for me. And that score from Charlie Clouser, holy hell, man. That was awesome. And I can't wait to see what they're doing with the next one, because I hear they're bringing Tobin Bell back. So that'll be pretty cool.
Anything after Spiral, man. Spiral was a mess.
Yeah, Spiral was a letdown. I mean, it wasn't the worst of the franchise, but it was
Jigsaw wasn't good either, though.
Agreed. Okay, so my thoughts on it real quick. So Saw is actually my number 5, actually. And I'll just go real quick. What makes this movie stand out is that, like, it's the realism, okay? Freddy's not going to kill you in your dreams. Jason's not going to be chasing you in the woods. But some motherfucker could date rape you, throw you in a fucking room, and chain you to the fucking wall. Okay? That's why Saw is what made it so terrifying, because that shit could fucking happen. It was more believable than the other horror movies. And then just like, the sheer gore, which did get over the top later on, almost comical, especially in the last few movies. But man, spoiler for anyone who didn't see it, but that ending just made my heart drop. All right? Because we all didn't think that the motherfucker that was dead in the middle of the room was the motherfucker the whole time. So it was really the ending that just made you fucking chill. And then everybody in high school, it's all we talked about. It was my senior year. That's all we fucking talked about was, oh my god, go see the movie Saw. Oh my god, this fucking ending. And I remember I bought it. I showed it to my mom, and like, oh yeah. So Saw's again means a lot to me. It belongs in the horror genre in my opinion, because it's just iconic. Like I say, it paved the way for the 2000s and whatnot. All right, so moving on to number 3. The Shining is at number 3.
Oh.
Keith, go ahead.
Damn. Another one honestly did not get on my list, and I'm not sure why, but it's awesome. I love it. Again, I think it was just, I tried to describe it to somebody as like, back in the day when I bought CDs, like I would go to a store and there's so many I wanted, and it was like, what am I going to spend my money on, right? But then when you can download whatever you want, I didn't want anything. So like when you ask me what my favorite top 10s, might be, I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? When no one asks, I have all day I could list off. So this one was tough. That one's super good too. And maybe it didn't even hit my radar because it's a standalone, but it definitely, I'm not mad at the number.
Not anymore, it's not a standalone.
Man, it was so good though. Damn. So that one didn't make my list, but I am not even going to dispute its spot here because that actually makes sense. It's really good.
Yeah.
Super good. Massive fan. So I got nothing but love for it.
All right. Wes, Jones, I would imagine that your mood has turned around now. Shining's at
Yes.
number 3. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good. And real talk, we did an entire episode dedicated to The Shining for last Halloween. And I said it then, I'll make a declaration now as well. I think this is the best directed movie of all time. The shots and the way that Kubrick decided to set this movie up, I think it's unmatched. Especially the shots of where they're following Danny around as he's pedaling through the Overlook Hotel, and it's just brilliant. It's just absolutely brilliant. And there's been a lot of, I guess, commentary and criticisms of Jack Nicholson's performance in The Shining that's a little bit too over the top. And according to Kubrick, it was kind of like a James Cagney type performance, for those that really get into film history. It's kind of like a James Cagney horror performance. And I love everything about this movie. And if you listen to our episode on Real Talk, we dove into a lot of the myths about the films, a lot of the commentary that some people think the movie's making, that's about the genocide of the Native Americans, that it's about faking the Apollo moon landing. It's, all of these types of things. So we really peeled back the onion on those. But I think the most interesting one is definitely about the teddy bears in the film, which, if you remember the famous scene where the dude is getting blown by the guy in the teddy bear costume at the end, it's amazing if you go back and you take a look at the symbolism around that teddy bear and how it's throughout the film. So anyway, go listen to our episode of Real Talk. I think it's one of the best episodes we've ever done.
Agreed.
Was on The Shining, and this is my all-time favorite horror movie.
All right. Just a shameless plug again. Over on Joe Blow Face Off, please check out my Shining versus Dr. Sleep video. I worked really, really hard on it, and it was definitely a love letter to both movies. So please check that shit out. Joe Blow Face Offs. All right. Josh, Movie Aficionados, we got The Shining at number 3.
Oh my God. I really need to I don't even know if it's not that I don't feel confident about my list. I like my list, but I just had to recheck and see if The Shining was on there, and it wasn't. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, what did I do? What did I do here? I like my 10 that I have, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, no, like you could go any way. And I like what we have so far, by the way. Like I like the honorable mentions, all this stuff. The Shining is definitely iconic, one of the best horror movies, if not the best of all time, even though Stephen King doesn't necessarily like the film himself. But that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about that. And I'll briefly talk about Dr. Sleep, because I didn't put that on my list either, even though I love Dr. Sleep. I don't think that's a horror. I don't think that's a horror movie. I think that's more of like an action, like a comic book-esque type movie, if that exists. I mean, I guess there was a book.
Yeah, but it's such a departure from The Shining, but it's such a great follow-up.
Yeah. So I don't really want to get too much into that, just in case it's in somewhere.
It's still
in there.
new. I mean, it's only 3 years old. So.
Right. But yeah, no. And as far as my favorite Kubrick film, 2001: A Space Odyssey is like, to me, a perfect film. And Wes, I know, like you know, like you can even like, you're like, I'm not mad at that necessarily, you know what I mean? But I'm not mad at like The Shining being your, favorite horror movie. I think that it's a perfect atmospheric horror, just in the same way I said Blair Witch was. And I would re-elect to put it somewhere in here. This
is why we're doing this, man. NerdCage Live is a love letter to these horror movies, and it's cool that we get all these different opinions too.
Yeah, man. But yeah.
All right, Joe from FallenOne Gaming, The Shining.
Yes, The Shining has some of the most iconic scenes, and it gave us one of the best Mortal Kombat fatalities ever. Here's Johnny.
Yes.
So yeah, it is. I think really, it's not on my list. But, I had to bump things all over the place to even make my list. So it was really tough to do.
No,
but
yeah, like I said,
if not in my top 10, it's at least in my top 15. So, I mean, it's good. It's really good.
All right, so this is actually my number 2. All right, so this is why I made it so high, is because even though these guys didn't have it on theirs, it was my number 2 and it was Wes number 1. Okay, the older I get, the more I appreciate the movie, the more I like pick up on things I may have not noticed last time. And what's amazing is people are still dissecting this movie. I mean, there's a documentary out there called Room 237, and they really dissect this movie. Like, people are still dissecting this fucking movie, and I like what Wes said. Not only that is this movie's directed very well, but this, I think Jack Nicholson, probably the best horror movie performance ever. Honest to God. Just seeing him just like descend into madness, and then just those iconic lines and those, oh my God, fuck those fucking twins, man. I hate those twins. Those twins, Jesus Christ on ice skates. Those twins are just the worst, all right? They give me the, I hate them. I hate the fucking twins. It's just that fucking creepy. But yeah, it's just, there's so much to appreciate here. I mean, like I said, this is a movie I watch every year, and every year I just love it more. The older I get, the more I love this movie. And yeah, so a lot to appreciate here. If you've not seen The Shining, go watch it. And again, shout out to Dr. Sleep. If you did not like Dr. Sleep on your first viewing, watch it again, because there's a lot of parallels between this and Dr. Sleep. And the thing I appreciate about Dr. Sleep is they did a good job respecting the novel and the Kubrick film. So, like, yeah, I love both of those movies. Even though The Shining stands on its own, but my God, is Dr. Sleep an excellent follow-up to a beloved character from the first movie. Plus, Rebecca Ferguson's so fucking hot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Great movie, man.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so down to the nitty-gritty. At number 2, The Exorcist. Keith Tattness McCleary. Go.
Damn. All right, so that one made my list, but that was number 10 for me. I had to put it on there just because I feel like if a horror movie sticks with you the way it had over the years with me in such a way, they did their job well. And I feel like that one really screwed with me. I first saw it, I was 15, I think, when I first saw it. And I was like, what the hell, dude? It was just a mind fuck. It was trippy. And because I'm not like a big gore dude, it didn't have all that. So like I watched it and it just screwed with my head in such a different way that I was like, that definitely has to be in my top 10. You just feel like off after seeing that, I think. And what trips me out about it is just like it's you don't have to see it 600 times to have it fresh in your mind. It just lingers. So I give them credit for that. It was pretty damn good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Wes from Real Talk, we have The Exorcist at number 2. My man, dish it out.
This one came in at number 6 for me. I have a great love and respect for The Exorcist. And I really got into The Exorcist whenever I was in high school. I think either my junior or senior year of high school is when I really started to appreciate the film. At that particular time, they had done the director's cut where it came back out.
Yep.
And it made its rounds and went back in theater. And a very famous, one of the best scenes in the whole movie was cut out from the original release. It was the spider crawl scene where she comes back upside down the steps.
Yeah, spider crawl.
And when I very first rented it, the very first time I watched The Exorcist, and I put it in, of course it starts in the desert, and I'm like, is this the right movie? I thought this was supposed to be the possessed girl and all this, because the opening scene is honestly, it's kind of long, and you're there in the desert. But I find this film so fascinating because, I mean, the movie's evil. Like, it's an evil movie, and it's dealing with some extremely graphic, heavy stuff throughout. And of course, people claim that the set was cursed, and all this type of stuff was going on throughout the making of it. But it's iconic, and it is scary. And I think if, we did a vote and could get, a couple million people to vote in it, they're probably going to say it's the scariest movie of all time. That would probably win because it scared so many people, and that's what a horror movie is really supposed to do, is to scare. Mm-hmm. And the last thing I'll say about it is I don't know, I should brush up on my trivia just a little bit better, but I don't know if it was in the original film, but the director's cut for sure has it, where everybody know in Fight Club where he's talking about how they splice in the naked photos into the Disney movie and that whole scene and stuff like that. It's really, really funny, clever scene in Fight Club. Well, they did that in The Exorcist, and if you pause it correctly, there's like these demon faces that will barely flash in the cut of the movie. And if you pause it on it, it is terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Like, it is a terrifying picture that you can see. And I really love how they did that as well. So yeah, great movie. Really glad to see. It honestly wouldn't be a respectable horror list without having The Exorcist, as high on it. So,
of course. All right, Joshua of Movie Aficionados, we have The Exorcist at number 2 on our collective top 5, man. What do you got?
This is an outrage, man. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, obviously, and this made me realize something about my list. I think that I made my list as my top 10 favorites, not the top 10 best, because all these movies that we're talking about, like The Shining and The Exorcist, these are the best, directed films. They might not be my favorite to watch over and over and over again, like some on my list, but they are the best without a doubt. And also, I want to say another thing about this too. I had it at number 8. I think that because I watch a lot of current movies and current horror movies and all that stuff too. I don't want to get watered down, you know what I mean? And we can't forget that The Exorcist and movies like it were the first to do this, like Halloween, were the first of their kind. So now it's there's a bunch of CG stuff, and there's tons and tons of Conjuring and the devil, Pray to the Devil and all these movies that I see, but The Exorcist was there first. The Shining was there first. All these movies were there first, and they need to be respected. And just because some of these new movies might amp up the jump scares, amp up the CGI, amp up the crazy stuff, we can't forget subtle, atmospheric, and that's what The Exorcist is. The Exorcist is more about the story, not to say that there's not crazy, scary stuff, horrifying, practical effects and all that, but we're so watered down nowadays with some of these horror movies that we're getting. And maybe that's another reason too why it's not I didn't put it all the way up there, but it's an iconic film and it has to be up there. And I'm definitely happy with what we have so far.
All right. Joe from FallenOne Gaming, The Exorcist is at number 2.
I have this at number 9. This, again, iconic. So, it has to be on there. And I think it gave us one of the best spoofs ever when we had that in Scary Movie. It was pretty hilarious. To have anything continue from it in all different genres and directions, it's a great iconic movie. It has to be on the list.
Okay, so this was actually my number 1. And let me just say that I was raised Catholic, and my family's Catholic as fuck. I got the Mexican mother and pray on the rosary and everything. So I just want to say that since I was raised Catholic and I went through confirmation, baptism, confirmation, first communion, all that shit. So, sorry, I didn't mean to say the Lord's name in vain, but I saw this movie while I was going through confirmation. I was in middle school. My mom told me about this movie, and she was telling me, "Oh, this movie's really scary, Jay. You should watch it." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever, Mom." Because you know what? I've been scared. Not scared, but every time when I was younger, every time I would see a Chucky or a Mike Myers, oh yeah, I'd get startled here and there, but it didn't scare me to the core.
Yeah.
The Exorcist scared me to the fucking core at whatever, 12, 13 years old, how old I was. And I was so goddamn terrified that I hated being in the dark room. I was just afraid that Satan's face was going to appear or something. I was that fucking scared. I was scared. I couldn't sleep for like 3 days. Seriously, no cap. I couldn't sleep for several days after watching this movie. And then, to make matters worse, Joe, if you remember, we got an earthquake in the East Coast. Where are you going with this, Jay? My bed was shaking, okay, in the middle of the night, in an earthquake, and I had just seen The Exorcist. Holy crap. Talk about bad timing for an earthquake to happen to me. So yeah, this movie just, I've only, you know what's funny is I've only watched it a handful of times. I think I've maybe watched it a few times. And of course, I've seen all the sequels. Shout out to the third. The third one's pretty good. The rest of them, not so much. I like the third one with George C. Scott and Brad Dourif. But man, the first one is just, it sticks with you. And by the way, I was lucky enough to meet Linda Blair at a horror convention. She was super cool. Very attractive too. But like, yeah, like this movie just scared me to the core. And like, yeah, there's only a handful of movies that did that to me. I could probably watch it now and maybe get a laugh out of it here and there because I'm not 13 anymore. But it's still can't keep the thing how like terrifying this movie is, especially for someone with a Christian background. On top of that, if I'm not mistaken, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this the first horror movie to win an Oscar?
Yeah,
I think it was.
I believe so,
The
yeah.
Omen won too, but The Omen was after this.
I don't know if you count Silence of the Lambs, but that's also after.
Yeah, but this was in the 70s. Like this was the first horror movie
yeah.
to even get
Without a
nominated
doubt.
and win like an Academy Award. So
yeah, I mean, some of the other ones that would have come before that didn't win, that were kind of ostracized, like Psycho. It was for a while. Night of the Hunter. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Night of the Hunter from 1955. It's a fantastic movie.
all right, that's
But yeah, I mean, a lot of them weren't in high regard. Frankenstein and Dracula and movies like that. So you might be right. That's a good piece of trivia. I don't know that one. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, Jay. Based on like going back to what I was saying, how do you feel about these other exorcists, the exorcism of Emily Rose and The Conjuring and every other exorcism?
I mean, I always enjoy a demon possession story, but I just feel like The Exorcist did it like the best, if I'm being honest. And like,
gotcha.
Another thing that's scary too is it's based on a true story. There was like, I think it was like a boy in Boston in the 30s or something that they based this movie off of.
This had nothing to do with Ed and Lorraine Warren.
I mean, obviously, like the head spinning and all that didn't happen, but the possession did. It's on record. Like the possession did happen.
You want to know something weird?
Yeah.
Something a little bit strange is you're right. It was a male. He just recently died like a year or so ago. He worked for NASA.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And the church that was involved in the exorcism attended his funeral, which means they were still watching over him just in case, I suppose. Very bizarre story. But they were seen, like members of that church were seen at his funeral when he passed as if they were keeping tabs on him just in case. So that's wild.
Yeah. Wow. Not. I don't know. I might be a little bit scared to go to bed tonight now. All right, guys. We are
Jay,
at...
yeah,
go ahead.
I've got the answer to your question here.
Yes.
It didn't win. It didn't win any major awards, but it was the first horror film to ever be nominated for Best Picture, and it was actually the highest-grossing film of 1973. It was nominated for 10 Oscars, and it wound up winning for Best Adapted Screenplay. So it did win an Oscar, but it didn't win. It wound up losing Best Picture award to The Sting, which, if nobody's seen The Sting, that movie is fantastic. It is a great movie. But
it's just mind blowing that it was nominated for Best Picture and all these other nominations.
Yeah,
10 awards. That's awesome.
Wow. I mean, at least it won something. All right, guys. So before we get to our number one, any educated guesses of what number one could be?
Halloween.
Yeah, Halloween. I'm gonna guess Halloween. It's not even.
All right. Well, here we go, guys. At number one, yes, correcto. It is Halloween, the original 1978 film. So, I'm sure most of us are happy with this pick because, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was on everybody's list. So that being said, Keith Tattness McCleary, our number one collective best horror movie of all time is Halloween. How do you feel?
I am not mad at that. I think it was number 2 for me. I think Nightmare on Elm Street was number 1 due to, again, sentimental reasons. But Halloween was another one that I grew up. I remember being just a few years old and seeing the TV spot for it because it was coming on TV. And I was sitting in the living room late night with my grandmother with all the lights off. And I see this preview for that coming on TV. And I was fascinated by it. And then I didn't see it till about 1998 for the first time, oddly enough. At a friend's place. His mom was a huge horror movie freak and found out I was into them too. So she's like, there's someone to watch them with because her kid kind of, was easily scared. So to find that I was into it and I was crashing at their place, she was stoked. So we got Halloween and we got Friday the 13th. And that was my first time seeing Halloween and I was obsessed with it ever since. I absolutely loved it. And then I started to see all the other ones after that and get caught up. So that one's definitely a big one for me.
Very well said. Wes, we have the original 1978 classic from John Carpenter. Jamie Lee Curtis is the movie that would watch her career. Halloween's number 1. Wes, how do you feel?
Last night, when I finalized my list, Halloween was at number 2 on my list. If I was to do it today or tomorrow, Halloween might be number 1. I seriously go back and forth constantly about The Shining and Halloween is my all-time favorite horror movie. I think is because I've recently watched Halloween Ends and was just really pissed at Halloween right now. Oh, yeah. So that might be the reason why that I put The Shining number 1. But again, the 2 episodes that I personally put the most effort and work into for Real Talk was Halloween episode, which I did 2 years ago, and The Shining that I did last year. And we put together a fantastic show. Who's probably considered the number 1 Halloween fan in the world on our show. He has Jamie Lee Curtis from the movie tattooed on his arm. Jamie Lee Curtis was on Jay Leno and talked about Greg's tattoo on Jay Leno's show. So he was on there. It was just such a blast. John Carpenter is from Bowling Green, Kentucky. Like, he lived here for many years, went to school at Western Kentucky University. Western Kentucky University is a mile and a half from my house. So I'm from where John Carpenter is from.
Nice.
And I've met him several times. I've got an autographed copy of Halloween right up here. We interviewed his wife, Sandy King Carpenter, who's a really big film producer. And John stopped by and answered a couple of questions on our show. So just awesome. This was just such a, and I'm sorry to keep going on.
No,
but
you're good. You're good, man. We're doing
people
good on
are
time,
tuning
so
in.
go ahead.
If they're tuning in for horror movies, hopefully they want to hear our real thoughts about them. But honestly, what an accident that this was supposed to be called The Babysitter Murders. It was just supposed to just be a movie that just got John Carpenter his next paycheck. I think he wrote it while he was super high, with Deborah Hill. But he's so talented as a director and a musician. And it's just like one of those things where everything went right? You found the final girl, the lead actress. You nailed her. You got Donald Pleasance in there. They spent pretty much their budget, whatever they had, just to get him in the movie. He nailed it. You accidentally created the most iconic mask in film history with the William Shatner mask, just painting it white and widening the eye holes. And then you had an absolute filmmaking prodigy behind the movie. And how he was so young when he made Halloween. But just look at how they did the opening scene.
Yeah,
there's no cuts in it.
Yeah.
They just did it. Everybody hit their marks and hit their beats. And yeah, it's a great movie. They just did the release, the released here in theaters here in Bowling Green. So I got to see it in theaters for the first time about 2 weeks ago.
Nice.
So it was awesome. Yeah, love Halloween. Love all 1 through H2O. I'm a huge fan. I pretty much like them all. But after that, I just get pissed off. So
honest to God, I was debating, guys. No cap. I was this close from debating about, instead of doing a horror movie ranking and discussion, I almost want to do a Halloween ranking and discussion because of Halloween Ends. But I'm thinking to myself, my God, it would have been like a 3-4 hour stream because there's so many. But I definitely down the road would love to do a Halloween Mike Myers ranking and discussion for sure down the line. But I was like, you know what? Let's just do horror movies. That way we can all kind of like mix things up.
Yeah.
All right, Joshua Burris from Movie Aficionados, Halloween, the night that he came.
All right, first off, I wish Wes would have went last because he had a deep history. He got to meet John Carpenter and stuff. Like, I can't even compete. Come on, man. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? I'm a weirdo, man. I didn't even have this on there, and maybe if I would have did a whatever, I would have. And also, I'm going to say this, and this is like going to be really weird. You guys are your heads are going to start spinning like the fucking Exorcist. I like Halloween Ends. I actually really liked it. I liked it because I was so shocked at what it was. I was like, what the hell?
All right, guys, what should we do with him?
Oh, no.
Let's sacrifice him.
I mean, I definitely thought it was better than Halloween Kills, which I thought was one of the worst right after that. But either way, the franchise, I don't know, as a whole, maybe it's all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
But I think Halloween itself is just iconic. And yeah, man, simple. This is what I was saying before about simple. Sometimes is better. Sometimes you don't need crazy gore. Sometimes, when I say sometimes, I mean you really don't. You really don't need crazy gore, crazy jump scares, crazy CGI. Just subtle, great filmmaking, and that's what it is. And I'm not mad at you guys, for this being number one. I like the list. I like our top 5. I think it's a very respectable list, even though my weirdness didn't ruin it. So it's great, man. Yeah, that's it.
All right, Joe from FallenOne Gaming. It was inevitable. Number 1. Dish it out, Mike.
This was my number 6, and I'm going to kind of echo what most people are saying, that, simple is better with every aspect of this movie, from the mask being as simple as it was to just recreate, how he walks and doesn't run and still catches up to you. And the theme song can't get much simpler than that, but it's still one of the most iconic ever. So, simple is better.
Clearly. My camera's all blurry. Hang on, let me just turn my camera off and turn it back on real quick.
Hey Jay, while you're messing with that, one of the things that I've appreciated so much about Halloween over the years is a scene where Jamie is discovering that her friends have been murdered, and she's upstairs and she's kind of looking around. You got the Judith Myers, the tombstone on the bed and all that. And she kind of backs up against the wall and she's just, kind of crying and doing this. And out of the darkness behind her, you just slowly see the white mask come in.
Such a great shot.
It's beautiful. Like, it is just, like, my head almost exploded when I saw that in theaters, because I'm like, this is so brilliant. Again, like Josh said, subtle, good filmmaking.
Absolutely. So for me, this was actually my number 7. Which, when you hear the rest of my list, you'll understand. But it had to make it on here. And I will say this, so I think the franchise as a whole, I probably like this would be, if we're gonna rank franchises, this would probably be my number 1 as a franchise. But as much as I love the other movies, I still think to this day the first one's the best one. Even though I enjoy 2, I enjoy 4. I didn't like 5. I think 6 is a guilty pleasure. By the way, shout out, Halloween 6 is getting a 4K release, both versions, and I have yet to watch the producer's cut, so I'm actually looking forward to that. I like H2O. I actually didn't mind Resurrection. I like Busta Rhymes. Sorry. I like Rob Zombie's version. I hated his second one.
Okay,
I
fair
liked
enough.
his first one. And then 2018 I loved, and then I hated Kills and Ends with a passion, and those two to me are the rock bottom. But yeah, what is there more to say? I mean, I saw this was probably I'll be honest with you guys, this is probably the first horror movie I fell in love with. I seen it when I was like not even 10. Remind you, just for the reference, I watched it on TV. My parents didn't care what I watched on TV. They didn't dare let me rent the tape until I got older. But I did see, this is one of the first movies, like horror movies, like I actually like enjoyed watching because it was just like, it was a thrill. Just the right amount of gore, even though it wasn't like gore, but just the right amount of blood, just the right amount of blood or jump scares, just the right amount of like suspense. Like it's damn near perfect. It's a damn near perfect horror movie. So, and even though I always put Psycho as like the first like slasher film, it was Halloween that just elevated the slasher genre to what we know today. So that is our top 5. Just, again, refresher here that our number 6 honorable mention was A Nightmare on Elm Street. Our number 5 was Blair Witch Project. Our number 4 was the original Saw. Number 3 was The Shining. And number 2 was The Exorcist. And number 1, Halloween. That being said, before we have all these guys plug in, we're going to go around a circle real quick, and everybody's just going to rip through their personal top 10. Keith, fire away.
All right, are we starting at 10 or 1?
Start with 10.
10? All right, for me, again, Exorcist was number 10 because it stuck with me. It really screwed my head up. Number 9, Halloween 4. I loved it. I thought that was one of the better ones. Number 8, looking back, I'm not sure how horror it really is. I think it was intended to be, but Death Proof I thought was really cool. And had that horror element to it I liked.
Yeah.
Number 7 might be a little obscure to most people. See No Evil 2 I thought was really cool.
I only seen the first one with Kane.
First one was great. He was in the second one too, but Danielle Harris was in it, and a few other people that were recognizable from horror franchises. So I thought that was really cool. Then number 6 was Halloween 2018. I really liked that one too. To your point, I thought that one was really well done. Number 5, Child's Play, because I thought for its time that was pretty unique, and I remember that as a kid. Number 4, Evil Dead 2. I love the first one, but I felt like in the second one, Ash became more of the character.
Derek would be happy to hear that. He couldn't make tonight's stream, but because he's at a convention. But yeah, Derek, he loves those movies.
Yeah, man, and I thought that's really when the character of Ash became who he really is. So I thought that was really cool. Number 3, shout out to my boy Mick Strawn, Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I love it. And Ken Sagos is a friend of mine. Again, you know, he was a pioneer actually because he was the first Black character in a worldwide horror movie to survive beginning to end. So that's an accomplishment and in and of itself that he's been praised with. So that's cool. Number 2 for me was Halloween, of course, because it's like one of the best movies I've ever seen in that regard. And then, of course, number 1 was Nightmare on Elm Street because I love it so damn much. So
awesome fucking list. Some unique ones in there, so I can appreciate that. All right, Wes, go ahead, rip through your list. Start with number 10.
All right, here. I want to do 2 things real quick, and this isn't going to take long at all. So the first thing I wanted to say is I don't consider Jaws, 7, Alien, or Silence of the Lambs horror. I think all of them have horror elements.
Right.
But I love all of those movies so much, and if they were horror, they would have been in my list, but I don't consider that. The second thing is, Josh mentioned this earlier, and he said, hey, I thought maybe we were doing our favorite horror movies, you know, versus best. I actually said that same thing to St. J, and he said, yeah, do the best. So some personal favorites of mine that might have been, if it was like my favorite horror movie list, I would have probably put like The Howling, Dog Soldiers, Fright Night, Friday the 13th, The New Blood, and Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers. Like, I love those movies so much.
I should have asked him. Damn, man.
But the movies that I actually put on, like, what I think are the 10 best horror movies, number 10 was Black Christmas. And Jay said, you know, that Halloween really kind of, put the slasher movie in, and it did all of those things. But however, Halloween owes a huge kind of debt to Black Christmas, and even John Carpenter has talked about how influenced he was by Bob Clark's Black Christmas. Number 9 is Rosemary's Baby, like a perfect 10 movie. It is so great, and if you haven't seen Rosemary's Baby lately, there's a Criterion version of it, and it's so good. Number 8 is The Descent. Never have I felt that many emotions in a movie, like the claustrophobia I felt at the beginning of that movie when they first start the spelunking is, whew. Number 7, I'll probably get a little flack for this. What I think is the best zombie film of all time is 28 Days Later, Danny Boyle's film. Now, I'm a huge Dawn of the Dead fan. It's actually coming out in theaters here in Bowling Green tomorrow in 3D. I'm going to go try to catch that if I can. I love Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, we're getting it too, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I saw it up there. I pointed it out to you, but I couldn't remember which one it was.
Yeah, it was Dawn. Yeah.
Another controversial thing I'll say, I actually like Night of the Living Dead even more than Dawn of the Dead. That's my second favorite zombie movie. Number 6 was The Exorcist. Number 5 is Scream. So as a 90s kid, the 2 iconic films of the 90s are The Blair Witch Project and Scream. And Scream is like my generation's horror film.
Yeah.
Like, whenever I was in high school, that was our generation's horror film that everybody loved. And I freaking love Scream. And I don't normally like a lot of comedy in my horror, but Stu, oh my gosh, he's great. He's just perfect. Number 4 is Psycho. Recently watched Psycho again.
Oh, still holds up.
I always said that Stanley Kubrick is the greatest filmmaker that's ever lived. But as I'm getting older, I'm starting to think that Alfred Hitchcock might be even better than Stanley Kubrick. And the scene that stood out in Psycho is when she first gets to the Bates Motel. She's in the car. It's raining. The windshield wipers are going. And then you see in the neon the Bates Motel.
Yeah,
and
that camera work is insane in that movie.
It's just so great. And they did a whole documentary about the shower scene, about the cuts in the shower scene. So
did you see that movie where Anthony Hopkins played Alfred Hitchcock? It was a biography movie about how they filmed Psycho. Scarlett Johansson played Janet Leigh.
I need to see that.
Oh, you need to see. Really I don't know. I don't remember what the movie.
I think I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen.
I think it's called Hitchcock. Yeah, it's called Hitchcock. Watch the movie Hitchcock with Anthony Hopkins. It's about it's about when they filmed Psycho. It's so fucking good. So fucking good.
I will check that out. And then the last 3 we've already talked about: Blair Witch, Halloween, and Shining.
All right, cool. All right, Josh, you got a crazy list. Rip right through.
Oh, I totally should have asked. Unlike Wes, I should have asked you: is this our favorites or if our best? It didn't even dawn on me. I definitely still rushed it, even though I still took more time with it. And there's so many things that are not on here. But number 10, I actually have. All right, I have Us at number 10. It's one of my favorite movies in the last so many years. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love it. I've seen it in the theater a bunch of times. I like it better than Get Out. I think it's a great horror comedy. Awesome. Number 9, I have Scream because, iconic movie that was very important to make horror movies continue in the 90s to the 2000s.
Save the genre.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 8, I had The Exorcist. Speaks for itself, Number 7, I had Saw. We talked about that. Number 6, I have a Stephen King film that we didn't talk about, The Mist, which has possibly the best and most sad ending. If you haven't seen it, definitely check out The Mist. Overall, great film. Number 5, I have The Witch. Like I said, these new horror movies. And this is a movie that is like Scream in the sense that it's starting a new genre or making horror movies, elevating them to that's why it's called elevated horror. A great film, awesome film. I'm actually shocked that Wes didn't have The Witch on because we're we love Robert Eggers, so the guy's a genius.
Yeah, he is.
Number 4, I have a very weird one, and it's possibly the creepiest ending I've ever seen in the film, and it's creepy throughout. It's called May. It's about a woman who has this doll and tries to make her own doll with human body parts. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I gotta see this. I've never heard of it. I got to see this now.
You absolutely have to. The music is creepy. The doll is creepy. Everything about it is creepy. And the ending is like, I'm not even going to talk about it too much.
This is why we're doing our top 10s, because I want to know what movie I need to see.
Okay. Number 3, I have another Stephen King banger that shockingly, I actually am shocked about this one. Carrie, to me, is possibly one of the most terrifying, one of the most
Travolta's first movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Love Carrie. I even like the remake a little bit. It's not
the
great.
remake wasn't bad.
It's not terrible.
It's not.
You know?
Honestly, I thought the Rage Carrie 2 was better than the remake of Carrie.
Okay, fair enough. But it's iconic, and Sissy Spacek, man, one of the best performances. Number 2, I have House of a Thousand Corpses. I love Rob Zombie. It's a movie I've seen. It's probably a movie I've seen more than any other movie. I've watched House of a Thousand Corpses tons and tons of times. Shows that horror can also be funny, and you want to talk about mindless killers? The Fireflies are awesome. I got to meet Sid Haig before he died, and Bill Moseley. They're awesome. I didn't get Sherry, unfortunately, but and number 1, I had the Blair Witch Project. So yeah, that's it.
Right. Hey, Jay, can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I say something real quick about Josh? He was talking about Carrie.
Yeah.
And I love Carrie. I think it's a really good movie.
Yeah.
But there was a clique of filmmakers back when Carrie came out. You had Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma, and several other ones. They were like kind of the new Hollywood at that particular time.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the fourth filmmaker, but they were all friends. They shared notes with one another. George Lucas, that's the other one. I'm sorry, couldn't think of it for a second. George Lucas.
Right.
They'd share notes with one another and all that, and all of them. Well, Brian De Palma didn't, but all of them, the rest of them agreed that Brian De Palma was the most talented of the bunch. Now, he didn't, and this is Spielberg talking, this is George Lucas talking, this is Francis Ford Coppola talking. They think that Brian De Palma was the most talented, best filmmaker among them. Now, he went a slightly different route with his career. I love De Palma films. Like, he's got a whole bunch. But if you watch a Brian De Palma film, he's in my top 5 best directors ever. Not because I love his film so much, but God, the talent is just amazing. And I just wanted to say, I remember that story about some of the greatest filmmakers that ever lived said, no, it's this guy over here. He's the real talented one.
Oh yeah. All right. So Joe, rip through your top 10, man.
Alrighty.
Yours list is unique. I love it.
Yeah. First off, Josh, don't feel bad. I did favorites too, but I'm coming off of just doing my top 10 movies of all time. Shameless plug, watch all of ours if you haven't yet.
Yes.
And so doing favorites on that, I just figured I'd carry it over to this. But anyway, that being said, number 10, I have 2 words for you. They're here. Rest in peace. That little girl actually died during or after the movie. So that was crazy. Number 9, The Exorcist. Number 8, kind of went with a deep cut. I went with The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. Seeing him actually transform, not only was it disgusting, but it was fucking terrifying. So that had to be on there. Number 7 was Final Destination 2. Just that scene alone on the highway when you see the friggin' logs come off, because we've all had that fear. And this just realizes it. So that movie had to be up there. My number 6 was Halloween. Number 5 was The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I think Josh mentioned it earlier. If for nothing else, for 2 reasons. One, I cannot wake up in the 3 o'clock hour anymore and stay awake. I have to go right back to bed. So that's one thing.
I wake up at 3 every day for work.
I know. So you have to be living in hell. And then on another note was that friggin' back arched stare that she does. Freaked me the fuck out. I think Jay laughed Well,
we were at the theater together. I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. And then number 4 was Rings. I think that was the best, personally, out of the series. And I just watched it for like the first time like a month ago, and it really got me. So I think that had to be up there. Number 3 was Saw. Number 2, I put the original Thing. The Thing. Fucking had to
The
put
black
that
and
up
white
there.
one or the Carpenter one?
The older one. Not the black and white older one. The Carpenter one.
Okay, all right. Because there's three
The one with
things.
Kurt Russell. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just had to clarify.
Yeah, and when the guy's head detaches and becomes a spider, it makes me laugh now, but back in the day, it scared the shit out of me. And then number 1, because I think this is the most fun horror movie I've ever seen, Freddy versus Jason. I had to put that up there. So, that's my list. And I ain't changing a thing. I had to change a lot of
I respect it. I respect it. I really do. Yeah, no, those are some good picks. All right, so mine. Okay, again, let me just say that some of these ones that I picked, I couldn't put my favorite. I thought I put like the best of the series. So here we go. So number 10, I have Psycho. Yeah, you have to. By the way, you should watch the sequels. Psycho 2, Psycho 3 are pretty good. Psycho 4, The remake with Vince Vaughn, booty sauce. But I do like, but the first one's still the best one. But you should definitely watch the second and third. And actually, I enjoyed Bates Motel, the TV show. I actually enjoyed it. Probably one of the only horror TV adaptations I thought that was actually pretty good. Okay, at number 9, I put The Omen. Even though the second Omen's probably my favorite one, I do love the Final Conflict number 3. But I had to put the first one just because. But I shout out to you should watch Omen 2 and 3 if you haven't. 8, Nightmare on Elm Street. 7, Halloween. 6, all right, Wes, controversial opinion here. My number 6 is Silence of the Lambs. That is absolutely a horror movie in my mind. I know it probably leans more towards suspense than horror, but my God, Anthony Hopkins winning an Oscar for being a cannibal, like, it's unheard of. And just like, I think it's the best horror movie of the 90s. And it's not even fucking close. Not even fucking close.
Horror adjacent is what you would call it, if that's fair.
I just think it's scary enough.
Like Mortal Kombat to me is like horror adjacent. Like they're in there,
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the one scene that is pure horror that's in Silence of the Lambs is when he's breaking out of
that's the best part of the movie.
Yeah, I mean,
I was gonna say the night vision scene is also like horror.
Yeah, I would say that as well. But no, I mean, Silence of the Lambs is amazing. I know a lot of people do consider it horror. I think it's like 7. It's like
Jason.
I do.
Yeah, it's like 7 to me.
Pseudo horror.
Yeah, I understand, but to me, I think of it as a horror movie. I really do, even though you could argue for suspense. At number 5, I already said Saw. Okay, number 4. Again, I'm just going to reiterate how much The Exorcist fucking scared me. But I think the next movie that scared me just as much, and it scared me as an adult, and this is actually a new movie, and I'm going to say this. This movie is the best horror movie of the last decade. My number 4 is Hereditary. If you have not seen Hereditary, watch it with the lights off by yourself. Yeah. I dare you. I fucking double dare you. And if you just had a dead relative pass away, it's even that much more terrifying. Holy fuck. Hereditary scared the fuck out of me. After I watched the movie, I kept like looking in the kitchen, making sure there wasn't anybody staring at me, dude. Seriously, if you've not seen Hereditary, make that a priority. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's on Amazon Prime. Hereditary is my number 4. Okay, it's probably the only like recent movie on here, and I think it's the best of the last decade. I don't know how you guys feel about Hereditary. Have you guys seen it?
Well, to me, I feel like The Witch came first, and I feel like Ari Aster drew a lot of inspiration from Robert Eggers. It was almost like too fast, but that's like a great movie though. Great movie.
It came out back to back, basically.
Right.
Yeah, I was more of the Witch fan than I was Hereditary, but I've got Hereditary very, very highly ranked.
Definitely. Yeah.
And the scene the two scenes that bothered me about Hereditary. Everybody talks about where she hits the pole is like that's where everybody kept talking about, but the one where she's describing how she almost set her kids on fire, just
oh my god,
man, it ran all over me. And then the scene towards the end where the kid wakes up in bed and you can just barely see her on the wall.
I hate it. Oh my god.
It's scary. That was scary. Yeah.
I said, you
movie.
watch that
It's a
and
great
then you just catch yourself like making sure the lights are on in the house, because you turn them. Oh my god, dude. It's such a mind fuck. It fucked with me so bad. Oh my god,
it's a great movie.
I honestly like Midsummer better too if I was going Ari Aster stuff, but that's another one too.
I like Midsummer a lot as well.
All right, now number 3. This is not my favorite of the Dead, but I put Night of the Living Dead as number 3 because you got to understand, like, it invented the subgenre of the zombie genre, and Resident Evil. It all came from this. I have to say, Day of the Dead's my favorite one, but Night of the Living Dead's the most iconic one. I know people argue for Dawn, but for me, I think Day is the best one. But Night of the Living Dead is my number 3 because I acknowledge how important it is in movie history. And it's really like the first mainstream gory movie. Number 2, The Shining. Number 1, The Exorcist. So that's my list.
Big shout out to I wish we had a top 50. Big shout out to Hellraiser and Evil Dead and all these ones that we didn't even mention. I'm so sorry.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
I was just going to pitch a question to the chat and say, are there any that aren't on any of our lists that you wish were?
Yeah.
And I see Leroy Gonzalez already
Leroy,
said.
that's my football teammate. Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, he said
happy
Puppet
belated.
Master.
By the way, happy belated, buddy.
Okay.
I know you just had a birthday the other day. So like I said, so for people in the chat, people who are listening to this, wherever you're listening to podcasts or listening to the Tattness Radio, let us know what your top 5 horror movies of all time are, and what you think of our list and our individual lists. All right, let us know. We love hearing these things. These discussions are always fun. That being said, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with this crazy Liu Kang nerd over here. Really, really appreciate it. I want to give all these fine gentlemen the chance to plug themselves in one last time. Please sub up their podcast. Links are in the description. I appreciate it a lot. These guys are not only terrific friends, but very, very talented content makers, and I appreciate what they do. That being said, Keith Tattness McCleary, go ahead and plug away, my friend.
All right, thanks, brother. So I'm in Terror Tunes 4 that will be coming out soon, actually. I got to find out the exact release date. It's in post-production, which is cool. Joe Castro made that film happen, and it's my first flick with actress Linnea Quigley from Return of the Living Dead.
Nice.
And there's an actress I worked with from Girl on the Third Floor, which was also a trip of a movie, dude. That was a mind fuck, like acid trip of a movie. Tattness Radio, of course, now is running. The Tattness podcast Uncensored will be coming back soon, and just on to bigger, better things at the moment. So that was the radio thing. So quite a bit going on.
Well, man, you've had a very, very stellar career, man, and I'm always watching you closely to see what crazy project you got coming up next. So appreciate what you're doing. I know you're a busy guy, and the fact you made time to be here, always awesome, man.
Dude,
Wes,
it's always an honor.
Real Talk, a movie podcast, man, go!
Keith, awesome that you mentioned Linnea Quigley. We got to hang out with her just a little bit at last year's Scare Fest. Got her to autograph my copy of Silent Night, Deadly Night. I know she's been in a bunch of other stuff too. But her back in the 80s, that'll put some hair on your chest. But yeah, thanks so much for inviting me to be on to get to talk horror movies. We don't talk them a whole lot on Real Talk, but it's my favorite genre. Anytime you guys want to get together and talk horror, I'd love to be a part of it. But really, really enjoyed tonight, and good to get back in the saddle after not making much content over the last 4 or 5 months. But again, if you want to hear more Real Talk, we've got about 100 episodes out. It's Real Talk, a movie podcast. You'll find us anywhere you get your podcasts, except for YouTube, just because we're lazy and don't edit it and put it up there. But yeah, thanks so much, and I'll definitely be back on NerdCage.
All right. Listen, if you ever need help with doing the YouTube thing, I can certainly help you with that to get your podcast on YouTube. Josh, man, plug away, man. And again, it's definitely great to have you back. I know you've been through some shit, so thank you so much for being here, man. Go ahead, plug wherever you want to plug, my guy.
Movie Aficionados. Go check out my old stuff. I have a bunch of reviews. It's like a thing I need, to get me to want to get a step back in the right direction. Check me out, sub me up, man. I'm going to try. I'm trying to weave my way back in after a long hiatus, man. Just like Wes, I'm trying to get back in the saddle. I'm grateful to be here. It was a great show, and I'm so happy to be, talking movies with my friends, man. That's it. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. We hang out here, we let our nuts hang, we talk about horror movies and everything, gaming, whatever we want to talk about, we do that, and that's what I love, hanging out with you guys. Joe, go ahead, plug what we got going on this week.
All right, before I do that, because we are talking horror movies here and everything, I want to make sure that everybody, chat, our guests and everything, have seen the trailer for Megan, M3GAN.
Yeah.
I want to see it. It looks like the most unintentional, hilarious movie since Moonfall. I am going to see this movie, and I'm going to laugh my ass off. I cannot fucking wait for Megan.
No, it's intentional, man. James Wan knows what he's doing. He knows.
Oh, yeah.
I got
after that damn Malignant movie.
And that being said, tomorrow, in true Halloween style, we will be going back to Luigi's Mansion 3.
Mamma mia. Twitch.tv/NerdCage Live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We just might beat it, but we'll see. We're close to the end.
And then on Monday, we will be doing a redemption stream for our Resident Evil 2 Leon B.
And Twitch.tv/NerdCage Live. We might start a little early. We'll probably start that one at 6.
So make sure you
come
sub
trick or
up
treat with us.
Make sure you sub up to our NerdCage Live gaming channel, because very soon here we will be able to put up on-demand videos and stream simulcast.
Hopefully, we're working on it, guys. We're working on it. And then
so in the meantime, sub up. And then on Tuesday, we will be going back to Gotham Knights.
Yes, and I'm loving it so far. Just saying.
Yes.
Yes, that's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live. So we will post on our group. Joe, plug it all the social media real quick.
All right. If you haven't followed us on Instagram or Twitter, you can do that at nerd_cage. Our Discord is in the description. It is now up and running, so become a member over there. And our Facebook discussion group, which is NerdCage Nation, always going strong. Make sure you make yourself a member over there as well.
Absolutely. And again, we're also on Tattness Radio now, so if you're ever listening to Tattness Radio, we pop in from time to time. And of course, check out our podcast platform as well. The audio versions always go up on there. And please, guys, go over to Joe Blow Face-Offs and watch. Written and edited by yours truly, my Dr. Sleep versus Shining Face-Off. Check that out. I think I was fair with both movies, so please check out that Face-Off. It's fucking awesome. I'm going to be working on another big Face-Off for November. And you guys are going to love my December Face-Off. I'm not going to say what it is, but luckily my boss approved it. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And guys, we got some great stuff coming up in November. We are going to take a little break, obviously, for Thanksgiving. And we got a lot going on in December. We'll be revealing that real soon. So stay tuned, everybody. So that being said, we please ask you to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and spread that shit like syphilis. So to you, I say, from yours truly, Syracuse, New York, New Jersey, Bowling Green, Kentucky, somewhere up in northern Canada, to all of our friends and fans around the world at NerdCage Live, Tattness Podcast Uncensored, Movie Gaming Aficionados, and Real Talk Movie Podcast. As always, enjoy life, stay safe, eat your vegetables, do your push-ups, fuck game freezes, and fuck math, and good night.
Good night.
And stick around for these awesome promos, motherfuckers, and get trapped in the cage.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Jay St. G.
And I'm Joe from FallenOne Gaming.
And we have a special message from NerdCage Live and NerdCage Live Gaming, because we know a lot of y'all like the game, right? Well, we decided here at NerdCage that we wanted to give away something special. A big thank you. Not only a thank you, but we need your help too. Joe, what is it that we're giving away?
We are giving away an Xbox Series X.
Yes! Brand new. See? Right here, still sealed. We are giving this sucker away. But in order for us to give this away, we need your help. Get us to 1,500 subscribers and we will give this away.
If you guys get us to 1,500 subscribers, this can be all yours.
United States and Canada only. We're not shipping all over the world, all right?
Yeah.
So here's how this is gonna happen. Get us to 1,500 subscribers, and then we're gonna release another video on how you can enter. This is not gonna be the only giveaway. So the first prize, obviously, will be the Xbox Series X, brand new, shipped right to you. Second prize will be a digital $100 gift card from Amazon.
Third place will be a $50 digital Amazon card.
Now listen, if you get us to 1,500 subscribers, just maybe, we'll do another giveaway. 1,500 subscribers, and this bad boy can be yours. Keep it tuned to NerdCage Live when we release the second video on how to enter once we hit 1,500 subscribers.
NerdCage Live and Gaming are a perfect match.
Shoot the J, Joe.
Okay.
Shoot it!
All right.
Over on NerdCage Live on Twitch, Jay and Joe go live.
Call me Bazooka Joe.
It's all about you.
Kaboom! Playing both old school and new school games every Tuesday night. Ooh, what a sight!
Jay, stop looking at her face and run.
But she's so beautiful.
So be sure to follow NerdCage Live on Twitch.
Run for your life, Joe. Run for your life, Joe.
Running.
Run faster. Oh no, Joe. The galaxy's doomed because of you.
To scratch your gaming itch.
Oh, nice kick, Joe.
Thank you.
Yo, that's diabolical. Wait. Yo!
That's twitch.tv/NerdCage Live.
Ooh, trying to get out of the nerd cage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!